Because y'all got like 8,000 teams and stuff.
That's the one thing about New York is that they always show love. That's the hard thing about coming up in Miami is that Miami's culture is very involved. Everybody is very self-involved. Everything that they do, and even if they do it with someone else, it's always with the same mean in the end, which is for themselves.
Explain to the people, because this is something I always try to preach.
And it's a hard topic because it's kind of like talking to a wall sometimes, because not everybody understands it, but everybody, most people in Miami, they don't understand that 2 is better than 1.
Exactly.
Always. And 3 and 4, now you have an army, and why not be stronger? Why be so selfish? I mean, at the end of the day, things like that come out of personality, and it's just the world now these days. It is what it is. All we can do as individuals is continue to preach it. I'm also a Christian, so it's a lot easier for me to have faith and to be so well spoken, because when I say things, I say them with meaning, and when I care, I care. I am a Leo, so I can be aggressive and not care.
That's in your nature,
But I thank God that no matter what was thrown at me throughout my life, which was a lot, I never changed. I never lost faith. I never blamed anyone else but myself. We don't take accountability for the situations we put ourselves in sometimes. And once you understand that there's nobody else to blame but yourself, that's when life will get so much easier for you. And that's just what it is.
It's the truth. So you was born in Venezuela. When did you leave Venezuela?
I was literally just born there. My dad was like, I was already a citizen. He literally flew me out of Miami to have me born over there. He's like, I just wanted it to be more exotic.
So your family is from Venezuela?
My mother's Nicaraguan, my father's Colombian, and I'm born in Venezuela.
But why?
Well, so my father's family, when they were in Colombia, my father got to the United States as a stowaway on a boat. He was supposed to go to Europe. And when he got off the boat, he was in New York. So my mom was raised in New York. She's from the Bronx. She was raised there all her life. And that's where they met. But in that time, his family from Colombia migrated to Venezuela.
Okay.
Back then it wasn't the way it is now.
Yeah, because that's something I want to talk about, because I know Venezuela has been going through a lot with the government for the last 10 years.
And now Nicaragua is going through it too. Yeah. So now my family has migrated back from Venezuela to Colombia. They're all back.
So how was your experience in Colombia?
A culture shock. I think that those 4 years are what definitely made me who I am today. Whenever I feel like I'm losing track or I'm forgetting who I am, I always remember what I lived through, because I went over there. My parents left me there with like a family that I never really met. So it was a mom, a dad, a daughter, and a son. So my parents were divorced before I was born. So I grew up bouncing back and forth pretty much. And that was the family that pretty much raised me, and where I got that sense of feel of breakfast together and dinner together and go to school, go to church every Sunday. And I
think that's a Caribbean, Hispanic.
And I'm from the Caribbean side. I'm from the Atlantic. I'm from Barranquilla, so it's different than the interior. But I remember when I first got there, and we pulled up to the house that I was going to be living in, and it's like a 3-bedroom house that's the size of a 1-bedroom apartment here in Miami, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around, and because I went there to live in a small, poor town, population 2,000, just like everybody else. My dad didn't put me in a private school. He didn't, he didn't want me to live like an American. Going there was a punishment to begin with for being rebellious when I was younger. So he was like, no, there's no fun for you over here. And I remember looking around and looking out the window and watching these kids run back and forth barefoot on the dirt floor, and just like thinking, I didn't even know it still existed.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized how ignorant, people we can be. We truly don't understand how blessed we are, even if it is struggling in this state, in this country.
That's why I would say the poorest man in the United States is he's more blessed than someone that's poor in a third world country.
100%.
At least he could get some money. At least he get something to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least he could go to a shelter at night. Whereas if I was a poor person living in like Haiti or Jamaica or somewhere, Colombia,
they got all these other
Yeah.
problems to think about versus and the thing and it's so funny because the poor people that are over there, they don't go around knocking door to door asking for money. They go around asking for food. Do you have an apple? Do you have a bottle of water that you can give us? People, we let these people in and give them a plate of food, and then they just go about their way. You know what I'm saying? And education over there is so important because it's the only way that you can get out of the hood. It's the only chance. And most people that go to school and become doctors sometimes still struggle. Sometimes people don't have the money to go to school.
Exactly.
Over there when you go to school, you don't wait till college to start paying for your semesters. There's no public schools out there. You got to pay every year starting from kindergarten, and there's a lot of these people who they can't even afford that. Kids don't go to school not because they don't want to, it's because they can't. I used to give my classmates lunch money. I had to do homework at friends that had tin houses, that had mud houses. Some of them didn't have any houses and had to come to my house. I know that God put me there to come back here and do something so much more with that experience.
Yeah.
But timing is better than skill, so I know that it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming real soon.
I definitely want to take Broken Robots to Colombia and have something out there and build something over there where, I don't know, whether it be donating broken robot clothes with a fashion event out there or something like that. But I definitely want to take Broken Robots.
I can see that you're going to have, of course, with the help of Hayes, you're going to take your brand everywhere. I see you taking to Venezuela, yes. Colombia, in Miami. It's a lot of places that need help down here in the hoods. Same thing in New York. So. And just take it from there, just take it everywhere,
The most important thing is just to put out as many things as you can, as fast as possible. Yeah. Anything, doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's created with positivity, it's never a wrong move. Just got to keep going.
So, you already talked a lot about Miami. So, what's your experience in New York?
So, when I got to New York, when I was in Miami and I left at 13, I was, you already know how Miami life is. I was already getting a little taste of the streets here and there. When I got to Colombia, all of that stopped, and I became more my age. I went to school. I graduated 4.0 GPA. Homeschool. Went to church. That's how I was raised. So when I got to New York taught me to wake up, pretty much, to get out of that mentality. It's always been hard for me to understand that there are bad people out there because I'm not a bad person. So I think that bad things don't happen to good people, which is a lie. So when I got to New York, I learned that that's just not how it works. You have to, you cannot let it change you. Yeah. But you can't be stupid either. Exactly. And that's just what the truth is. Definitely taught me hustle. My first job in New York, I was 18, working at a Dominican restaurant down White Plains, making $5 an hour, packing Dominican food. I used to have from the little round aluminum plates, the cuts from how many plates I used to close, and that's how it all started. I would have never in my life, outside of my clothing line, I'm also a dental assistant. So
you're a dental?
I'm a dental assistant as well. So I went from $5 an hour to, $18, $19, $20 an hour. And it's a blessing. I look back at my life and sometimes I do because we don't want to dwell. That's the first thing you don't want to do. That, I struggled all my life. That becomes like a card, like a pity card. But when I do sit down and think back, I've slept on some floors. I've slept on some benches. I've had some cold winters. And I look at where I am now. I'm just blessed. I'm grateful. Every day I wake up, I'm like, thank you, God.
And you won't even elevate even more.
Of course. When I get to New York's probably going to be the last one to get to because I want whatever I do in New York has to be big. I definitely want to do something over there.
Yeah, so that's the Mecca.
That's the Mecca. That's the Mecca, and it has to be done right because New York will, eat you up and spit you out. Especially in the fashion industry.
I feel like my first time going to LA last week, I was telling people I never been to New York, so I kind of pictured like how LA is because LA is so huge. Like I was telling people like, you know, Miami compared to LA is like the country for real. Cause like Miami is a major city, but people still gotta remember it's still the South. So there's certain stuff that we do is not as it's like it's fast but laid back at the same time. Like Atlanta. Atlanta's a big city, but it's still laid back. You know what I'm saying? Compared to like LA and New York and like LA. Just by being there for about a couple of days, like, you know, you gotta move fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially if you want to be like successful, you gotta be quick, but at the same time, like you said, you gotta be smart and don't let the negativity get to you and stuff like that. Don't let people try to use you and things like that.
And you know what? It's all about intention too. There are people who do things and they don't know what they're doing. You know, so. And sometimes, you know, that little green monster, that jealousy, that envy, you know, some people are strong enough to withhold from that emotion and some people aren't. And that has definitely been one of the biggest struggles for me, is finding genuine people who truly want good for me and want to do good with me. You know what I'm saying? That's the other blessing I have, is that my team is also real. I could trust, I trust them probably more than my family. I'll probably give them my bank account. You know what I'm saying? And and that's so hard to find. And going back, I hate to keep repeating it, especially in Miami. It's very hard to find good and genuine people, and the people around you is what makes you. You know, you want to be successful and you want to hustle, well, make sure you're around the same kind of people who are going to help you make the good decisions, who know that when you work in the morning, they're not going to drag you out to the club because they know you got to go to work. They'll be like, yo, stop playing. Go home. And that's hard to find.
I mean, a lot of artists, you know, come up to me, you know, as a DJ. They always tell me like I'm a genuine person and stuff, and I always been like that. Like, if I got $5 and you need that $5, I give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think the problem with Miami is that, what I'm trying to say, we would show that gratitude to people from out of town instead of for people in their own home, because you can have artists coming from other places, you know, and they could get that southern hospitality and all that stuff all you want, but when it's like us, like all the time I was thinking about it, I'm like, if we could all stick together, Miami could be that city where people really want to come, not just to live for, but to be like, I want to invest in that company, that company, that company. You know,
local businesses.
Yeah, because compared to other places, it's kind of hard to grow businesses down in South Florida because of the fact that it's like people don't want to spend $20, $30, $40 on your business, but they can spend thousands of dollars on a big
100%. I know there are a lot of people on my Instagram who'll probably go buy some Supreme before they buy, you know, a $60 piece from Broken Robots.
Yeah, and Jim Jones was talking about this on the Breakfast Club interview, which was dope, because he owns an AFL team, a football league team, arena football league team, and he was saying like in our culture, like, you know, especially in the hip hop culture, you know, rappers, not just rappers, just anybody, like, in the black or Latin community would go to another person and be like, oh, I want to get some Supremes or Louis Vuitton or something like that, or Gucci. But, like, you have a brand like yourself and Hayes and everybody, like, around us have brands that could blow up by tomorrow, but you have people that just, like, it's whatever. Like, they just look at it as like it's low quality and stuff, and it's not. They don't have that name,
but that's exactly what we're creating. This, you know, when me and Joshua spoke about doing, when me and Hayes spoke
your
about
name
doing.
Joshua?
I'm sorry. He could edit that. He could edit that.
I go to my city, man.
You know, I've known him since he was yay tall, so it's hard for me to call him his stage name, you know. But
yeah, Hayes came a long way. Hayes think he's slick because I see the empire that he building, you know. But I'm glad that I'm around.
100%. When me and Hayes first started talking about the TGT event, when I first came with the idea, because we had just done the foundation event, I was like, yo, let's do a TGT event. the reason why we wanted to create it was not only to showcase my work, to showcase his work, but to showcase everybody's work. It's not just about me and him. There's other performers, there's other artists out there. We have vendors.